Oyster virginica. We've focused on that particular species in New Hampshire in particular because of the problem with its populations. In the last 10 years, basically, we've lost over 90–95% of the oysters that are in Great Bay and the adjacent estuary. So a lot of the research that I've been involved in is focused on bringing back those populations first, and then secondly, developing new and better methods of farming the oyster. So in other words, what we're looking at is the eastern oyster as important in the ecology of the estuary, but also as a food source for humans.
Can you tell me some of the things the eastern oyster does for our ecosystem and even broader the East Coast?
Right. The eastern oyster is distributed from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up into the Canadian Maritime, so it's widely distributed. New Hampshire, however, is the northernmost area where there are large reefs, or they occur naturally in large aggregations called reefs. Sometimes you'll hear oyster bars or oyster beds, but it's basically a concentration that's pretty much, the seafloor is pretty much covered with oysters. Yeah. So in an acre you might have as many as 1 million oysters. That's kind of a rule of thumb figure for a good, dense, healthy reef, 1 million oysters per acre. If you have 1 million oysters in an acre, and you think about what an oyster looks like, it's a rocky, it's made out of calcium carbonate, other chemicals, but it forms a rocky substrate with a lot of vertical structure, a lot of crevices, nooks and crannies. So one of the major things that an oyster does ecologically is it makes habitat. It's a habitat or structure forming organism.